Shortly after the communist takeover of China, the People's Liberation Army invaded Tibet. Tibet's tiny army was quickly defeated, and by the summer of 1951, Chinese troops were marching into the Tibetan capital, Lhasa. The 17-year-old Dalai Lama, Tibet's temporal and spiritual leader, was forced to come to terms with the Chinese. In Lhasa, the Tibetan government maintained an uneasy coexistence with the Chinese, but in the outlying provinces, the Chinese began to impose communist reforms. In 1956, they began the destruction of monasteries in eastern Tibet. By March 1959, the situation in Tibet was coming to a head. In Lhasa, news spread that the Dalai Lama had been invited to the local Chinese military camp to attend a theatrical show. He was to come alone, without his bodyguards. The people of Lhasa gathered outside the Dalai Lama's summer palace, determined to protect him. 7 days after the Lhasa uprising, the Dalai Lama, disguised as a soldier, escaped from his palace. After a 2-week trek across the mountains, the Dalai Lama finally crossed the border into India on the 31st of March, 1959. The Dalai Lama's escape sparked an exodus of refugees as tens of thousands of Tibetans followed him into exile.
창마 버리스는데 디체 마탕체 탕탕경체 야요 보라 리레 조모디 직체 조민디 직체 중디스가 직체 그래 되게 통뭐 야요로 조과요를 뭐 돼요 말해.
Tibet, cradled high in the Himalayas, seems ageless. But time is running out to capture the stories of those forced to flee their homeland. The Tibet Oral History Project needs your help to preserve the history of Tibet's wisdom, culture, and traditions for generations to come. The wind blows. It's time to harvest. And a grand festival begins in the 6th month.
메도 님제부 쉬워를 타딩 다끼를 돼요. 벨요. 야가 버리 뉴나 삼스. 그거 버리 종나 삼스. 벨요.
An important festival is held to celebrate His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday.
다 제제진에 뒤집기고요. 야 나와 dwi벌지가. 김에 뒤제 견자거니야 메라죠 섬주스. In the
early 1950s, when the Chinese first began to infiltrate, they took advantage of the trusting nature of Tibetans.
만지 초라천에 라바체가 레벨에 초라노바 야제동가 레벨에 저는 알아서 강하게 봐 계절에 머리게 봐래 참도게 봐래 머리게 봐래 만지 번장다 봐래 번자래다 저는 라바체가 레벨에 천수 라바체 사는 만지 말로도 그래서
The Chinese took active steps to impose communist ideas. New forms of taxation on land, cattle, and houses were imposed. Farm owners were killed and a redistribution of land followed.
천이라도 젊은 사람이 내 지그래 내 용으로 삼아서 하면 다 자기라고 다 가려야 이거 가까이요 말다.
By 1959, the Chinese were bombarding the city of Lhasa. Villages were looted and thousands of monasteries destroyed. Tibetans were publicly humiliated, tortured, imprisoned, and executed. On the night of March 17, 1959, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, was forced to flee Tibet rather than have thousands die protecting him from the Chinese invasion. 80,000 Tibetans would soon follow their spiritual leader into exile, enduring great hardships in crossing the Himalayas to seek refuge in India.
다 망관에서 다 남자 다와 선바 타바 인도가라 캬바네 시라다 랑관에 빼두자래 냐마 뻬니 같은 데 지는 로 저도 맨 담아 말라 파나 맨 담아라는 다 잡아 포대고 사대고 데데고 잡아
간정은 벼 링션도 말아바치스 벼종그 쳐도 말아바치스 독서 직디치스 링션도 말아바치 간도 간 쳐버견도 지참 보고 라트 티게요 송가 릉기 이구기들이로
다 배바가 다는 연이도 그 다와 저지다 다 야라 저지다 쪼어다 다 배바 리뷰 들어와 리뷰 들어와
The Tibet Oral History Project needs your help. We cannot let their memories vanish.